What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. Happy holidays. We're almost there. Early Merry Christmas. Let me know what you're doing here for the holidays. Are you already gearing up here for them? A happy Hanukkah or happy Festivus if you're celebrating here the Festivus for the rest of us. And yeah, we're gearing up here. We're already starting to. Title 42 was temporarily paused by the Supreme Court, which would, that was a big thing here, going to start here or going to end on December 21st, which was going to allow millions of illegal migrants to come into the United States and not be expelled. So the Supreme Court temporarily paused that so the Border Patrol could send them back. And there was thousands and thousands of migrants waiting at the border to see if it would be struck down. The Supreme Court jumped in there at the basically the last hour and said, we need to pause this and we'll rule on this here at a slightly later date. Here's what Texas Governor Greg Abbott gives us kind of an update on the situation there. Take a listen on this.
Texas Governor Abbott also concerned by the deep freeze gripping the U.S. Look at that map there. It goes all the way down to Laredo. You can see it there, in El Paso for sure. And Abbott says President Biden's lack of a border policy is putting lives at risk. The polar vortex is expected to reach Texas this week and could create dangerous conditions for thousands of migrants who are still camping outside. Joining us now is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And, you know, the administration yesterday asked the Supreme Court, let's punt this decision on Title 42 for another week because they'll get to have their holiday. But no one that works for you is going to get to spend their Christmas without thinking about how to manage this crisis on the border, sir.
Yeah, so we're having to manage the crisis on the border, regardless of what's happening, because even before the potential lifting of Title 42, we've seen this massive influx. But you got to go back to see the way that the Biden administration has handled this whole situation. They've handled the border crisis and created the border crisis in the exact same way that they were responsible for creating the crisis in Afghanistan. Completely unprepared, complete disaster. And Texas is left to pick up the pieces of the disaster caused by the Biden administration.
So the other day, Vice President Mike Pence was with us, and we asked him why it's going on. He said it's because of an open border policy. That was his answer now. Now, you were asked about this by ABC's Martha Raddatz, and it's gotten a lot of attention. I just want to play it for viewers so they get up to speed, and I'll ask you about this. Watch.
You talk about the border wall, you talk about open borders. I don't think I've ever heard President Biden say, we have an open border, come on over. But people I have heard say it are you, are former President Trump, or Ron DeSantis.
How did you answer that query?
Well, I explained to her exactly, for one, how the Biden administration has been constantly talking about open borders, enticing people to come into the United States. But also I explained that if you go back in time, just 2.5 years ago, it was the Trump administration that imposed the Title 42, the remain in Mexico, the end of catch and release, and building the wall. And what the Trump administration has done was lead to the lowest border crossings in decades. And it was only after Joe Biden took office and used his open border policies, we have an all-time record in the number of people coming across the border illegally.
I wondered about what you think of this omnibus bill that the Republicans and Democrats are getting together in Congress to try to pass this for the year. There's $25 billion in there for the CBP, but it says you can't actually spend it on border patrol. And in the past several weeks, and maybe even the months, Karine Jean-Pierre, the president's White House press secretary, said that if Republicans would just help them pass more money, that this problem would be solved. Is that how you see it?
Well, for one, if they passed more money, but it had to be passed to be used effectively to actually secure the border. And what the omnibus bill, not easy to say, what it does not provide is for more security. But let's go back and look at some of the outrageous things in there. Listen, I know that the United States is committed to try to help Ukraine, but I just wish, and American people would hope, for every dollar they give to the Ukraine, they would give just a dime to secure our own border. In that very bill, they were giving money to Tunisia, but not to Texas to deal with our border security problem. The priorities established in that bill are reprehensible when it comes to addressing the real needs that we have here in the United States of America and the open border policies that Congress has a responsibility to step up and solve. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says this is Congress's responsibility. They are passing a funding bill that does not have them live up to the responsibilities under the Constitution.
Last point here. It's not just people we're talking about here. Check this out. This is Derek Maltz with Rich Edson.
The end of Title 42 will add a huge revenue opportunity for the cartels. It's going to increase the deadly supply of fentanyl and the tsunami of these lethal substances that are entering the country daily.
That alone should call for greater border security, sir.
100%. And so just Texas law enforcement alone has seized enough fentanyl to kill every American. You would think that alone would cause the Biden administration to wake up and do something about it. The leading cause of death of people between ages of 18 and 45 is fentanyl. And yet Joe Biden seems like he could care less about that fact.
Yeah, the border issue has just been an absolute nightmare. I don't know what Biden needs to do. Well, I know what he needs to do. He needs to and honestly, it was a complete total turnaround to see that he was actually fixing the border wall that they announced here just a week or so ago. I was completely flabbergasted that they announced that. Completely shocked that the White House actually announced that they were doing that. Now it's not on a massive scale, but I think that they're somewhat realizing that it's just getting out of control. It's getting out of control. And if this Title 42 doesn't get held up long term, it's going to get 10 times as bad. 10 times as bad. I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts here on the border wall. I know a lot of people have a different opinion, but I think that the border wall, as time has gone on, has kind of grown a little bit more favorable for a lot of people because of how bad it has gotten. It has gotten. And remember, the whole function of the border wall is to just prevent people from coming over illegally. Remember that there is a process to come into the United States legally. And this is basically just to prevent people from coming over under the cover of darkness illegally. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but all of these border states are just getting completely ravaged with tens of thousands of people every single day. And if you live anywhere near that border, God bless you, because it's getting worse by the day. 465 rioters, which is about half of them that have been charged with crimes, have now pleaded guilty for their role in the Capitol insurrection so far. Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. Yeah, you can see here more than 960 people that have been charged with crimes linked to the Capitol insurrection, or insurrection. 465 of them have now pleaded guilty in connection to the riot. Some of these cases still ongoing. Some people may have pled not guilty or no contest, but 465 of them have now pled guilty. Also, the January 6th committee is now looking towards Mark Meadows for, well, here, take a listen.
My colleagues, what one lawmaker texted to Mark Meadows after the January 6th attack, and let me quote, "Yesterday was a terrible day. We tried everything we could in our objection to the 6 states. I'm sorry that nothing worked, end quote. Now just think about that. A lawmaker is apologizing for failing to steal an election, for failing to overturn the will of the American people. I mean, is that really what our politics have become? You know, destroy democracy if your team isn't victorious.
Why is it not sufficient just to say, well, he complied up until the point when Donald Trump essentially told him to stop complying? Why is his testimony further needed by our committee?
Well, first of all, it's compelled by the subpoena. He's required by our subpoena to both produce documents and to answer questions, to appear to testify. And there are a multitude of questions that we need to ask him. We need to ask him, we need to understand what was going on, what were his discussions with the member of this body about making Jeffrey Clark Attorney General. Why did they want to make Jeffrey Clark Attorney General? What did he think about the letter that Jeffrey Clark was proposing to send to state legislators in Georgia to overturn the results of those elections? Why were Fox News hosts texting him, telling him that they needed to get the president out to stop this? Why did they think that the president was the one who could stop this? We can have debates and discussions about the law, about policy, about what is an appropriate role, but January 6th is not what we do here, and it can never be what we do here. And it's difficult to imagine a more important official proceeding of Congress than counting electoral votes, that those who might attempt through either action or inaction to obstruct or delay those proceedings, that we get to the facts, that we understand what our legislative role is in protecting this nation, protecting the Constitution. We must get to the objective truth and ensure that January 6th never happens again.
Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. And of course, we know now that the January 6th committee has sent in 4 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. And of course, we have very different opinions on this. Some people saying that if the Department of Justice doesn't pursue criminal charges on Trump, that they wouldn't be doing their jobs. On the other hand, Republicans are saying that if they do pursue criminal charges on Trump, that it's a witch hunt and that it's politically motivated. So you have very different opinions. If they don't pursue criminal charges, are they doing Trump favors? Are they not doing their jobs? And on the other hand, if they do pursue criminal charges, is it politically motivated? And are they going after him and politically, motivated? You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And could we see another type of January 6th incident if they do go after him with criminal charges? Yeah, this is just crazy to think about what we've come to. And then we also have now Republican candidate Kari Lake from Arizona saying here just a couple days ago. Yeah, you can see here the Republican candidate from Arizona, Kari Lake, for governor, calls for imprisoning Maricopa County election officials because she lost. It's crazy, to think that stuff that happens when people lose sometimes. Meanwhile, she's, filing lawsuits. You can see here a judge in Arizona has dismissed 8 out of 10 of her claims already so far. So, and I mean, these are judges in Arizona, so I mean, I don't know what to say, it is what it is, right? So, I mean, this is an ongoing thing. The problem here going forward is that nobody wants to lose, and when you lose, this is the thing I kind of learned in sports. I feel like sports is a really good thing for everybody. Of course, not everybody's cut out for sports, but it teaches you to be a good loser. It teaches you to be, go over, shake your opponent's hand, be grateful whether you win, lose, or draw, and yeah, and I'm not saying this in relation to anybody in particular, but it just says, hey, you don't ask the ref to be imprisoned, or you don't ask the other guy, you don't go and punch the other guy when you lose or anything along those lines. It's just teaches you to be a good sport when you win, you lose, or you draw. And same thing, if President Biden loses the next election, you don't want him to go and, tell his supporters to go do a mass insurrection or to go and riot at the Capitol or anything along those lines. I seen a recent quote here that said, imagine if former President Obama said to, go and, attack the DOJ or the IRS or the FBI. And people would be up in arms about this. So you gotta think about this kind of stuff, or to throw out the Constitution. So you just gotta kind of just pause for a second and just think about some of these things here. And remember that um, it's just some of the stuff is just like, wow, it's crazy. It's crazy. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. This is the stuff that's going on here in our country right now. And some of this has been going on here for a year or two or more. It's crazy. So I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. And I'll keep you up to date here. Thanks for liking and sharing our videos as well. You can click here to watch my newest video next. Also, you can click here to see a major announcement that just happened from the Supreme Court. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.